The war had been raging for decades, a brutal conflict between humanity and the mysterious alien force, known only as the Nythari. Entire star systems had been reduced to charred husks, and the last remnants of human civilization clung desperately to survival. Among the countless soldiers who had fought and fallen, there was one who had earned a reputation for pragmatism, if not outright cynicism: Captain Elias Thorne. Elias had seen the battlefield in all its grotesque glory. He had watched friends turn to ash in the blink of an alien weapon, seen planets swallowed by energy storms, and yet he had survived. He had learned early that heroism was overrated. Pragmatism ensured survival. So, when the High Command offered a choice to the surviving soldiers, a reward for their service, Elias didn't hesitate. He would pick the easiest, most unassuming prize. The briefing had been simple. The officers explained that the remnants of human knowledge and alien technology could now be allocated in a reward system. Soldiers could choose a weapon, a starship, a fortune, or a companion, one sentient being, a gift meant to assist and perhaps offer comfort. Many chose power, advanced exocets, weapons of mass destruction, ships capable of war across light years. Elias, however, was weary. He had no taste for power, no desire for riches. He wanted simplicity, and so he chose her. The room had been filled with whispers when he made his decision. The council had allowed the soldiers to see their options behind a translucent barrier. Most prizes shimmered with energy, exuding threats and promises. But the figure he chose stood apart, a human woman, unremarkable at first glance, with soft brown hair, quiet eyes, and a fragile frame. She seemed almost fragile, almost like an accessory rather than a companion. "You're choosing her?" a fellow soldier had scoffed. "Captain, there are superweapons and starships here. She looks like a bookshop clerk, not someone who could survive a week in the field." Elias shrugged, a small smirk crossing his face. "Sometimes survival isn't about brute force," he said simply. The woman's lips curved into a polite smile, her gaze calm but unreadable. She said nothing, merely nodded, as if she understood the judgment he had made, that he underestimated her. The journey begins. The council's ship carried Elias and his chosen companion, whom he had learned was named Liora, to the edge of human-controlled space. On the way, Elias attempted small talk, more out of obligation than curiosity. Liora responded sparingly, her voice soft but precise. She did not laugh, did not joke, and often disappeared into the ship's quiet corridors, leaving Elias to his own thoughts. He assumed she was shy, perhaps intimidated by the wreckage of war and the severity of the soldier he was. He believed he had made a choice devoid of risk, an easy prize. He was wrong. 3 days into the journey, the ship came under attack. Nythari scouts had tracked the council's vessel, drawn by its energy signature. Alarms blared, and the ship shuddered under alien weapon fire. Elias immediately readied his rifle, preparing for combat. Liora, however, did something unexpected. "Follow me," she said, her tone commanding, not timid. Before Elias could protest, she had moved with a grace he had never seen. Her fingers danced across the ship's controls with expert precision, rerouting shields, manipulating energy flows, and stabilizing the failing warp drives. In moments, she had turned the tide, allowing the ship to escape the Nythari pursuit. Elias stared at her in disbelief. You can do that?" he asked, voice tinged with awe. "I've trained," she said, her eyes steady. "Not in combat, but in survival. Not with guns, but with everything else." It was then he realized that the soft, unassuming figure he had chosen was no ordinary human. Her calm under pressure, her knowledge of advanced systems, her strategic mind. It was all evidence of something more profound than he could have anticipated. The trials ahead. As they traveled further into uncharted space, Liora's abilities became more evident. She could interface with alien technology instinctively, often repairing or adapting devices in ways human engineers could only dream of. She spoke multiple languages, both human and alien, and could anticipate movements in ways that seemed almost prescient. Elias began to understand that her quiet demeanor was not weakness, but discipline. Her serenity masked a mind honed for survival, strategy, and understanding the Nythari in ways even the Council had failed. Their journey led them to a desolate planet, one of many where remnants of human colonies had been obliterated. Intelligence suggested the Nythari were gathering an artifact capable of manipulating energy at a planetary scale. High Command had been unable to act. Elias and Liora, however, were tasked with infiltrating the site, securing the artifact, and preventing its use against humanity. The planet's surface was treacherous. Acidic storms swept the barren landscape, and the Nythari had deployed automated sentries that detected even the faintest heat signature. Elias relied on his combat skills, moving silently and striking with precision. But time and again, it was Liora who saw the hidden traps, neutralized alien tech, and found paths that defied logic. "You're extraordinary," Elias admitted one night as they rested in a ruined settlement. They had both survived another day by sheer luck and skill. Liora looked at him, eyes unflinching. "I do what I must to survive. That's all. You thought you were choosing an easy prize, Captain. The truth is, the choice was mutual. I chose you too." Elias felt a chill. "Chose me?" "Yes," she said simply. "I've watched humans for years, observed their strategies, their weaknesses. I could have chosen anyone, but I saw something in you, pragmatism, yes, but also the capacity to see beyond the obvious. That matters." It was the first time Elias felt respect, genuine respect, for someone he hadn't trained with, fought beside, or known for years. He realized that what he thought would be an easy reward had become the most challenging, most rewarding partnership of his life. The heart of the enemy, the artifact, lay in a hidden fortress deep within a canyon of jagged crystal. Nythari guardians patrolled constantly, their movements coordinated with alarming precision. The moment they entered the fortress, Elias realized how dangerous the situation had become. Liora moved ahead of him, touching alien glyphs and manipulating energy fields. Each step seemed to bend reality itself. She whispered instructions to Elias, who followed her commands instinctively. Together, they avoided patrols, disabled traps, and finally reached the chamber containing the artifact, a pulsating crystalline core of unimaginable energy. Before Elias could act, the Nythari commander appeared, a towering, insectoid creature with luminescent eyes and claws that could pierce steel. Elias raised his rifle, ready to fight, but Liora stopped him. "Not with guns," she said. "There's another way." She stepped forward, her hands moving in intricate gestures, drawing energy from the artifact itself. The room hummed with power. The Nythari commander froze, unsure of how to respond. Liora's calm energy seemed to resonate with the artifact, bending it to her will. In moments, the creature was incapacitated, frozen in stasis as the artifact's energy stabilized. Elias stared in awe. What are you doing?" "I'm aligning it," she said softly. "Using their own energy against them. Not violence. Not death. Control." The fortress began to collapse around them, but Liora led Elias safely through the corridors, out into the canyon, and finally back to the ship. They had secured the artifact and survived, unscathed, because of her ingenuity, intelligence, and courage. The revelation once back aboard the Council ship, Elias demanded answers. Who are you really? Liora finally smiled, a small, genuine curve of her lips. I am a guardian, she admitted. Trained long before the Nythari War even began. My purpose was to observe, to protect, and to intervene when necessary. I could have chosen any soldier to accompany me, but I chose you because your pragmatism is rare. And I see potential. Elias felt a strange mix of humility and pride. All this time, he had thought he was the one making decisions, the one in control. In truth, he had been guided by her all along, and yet he had never felt manipulated. She had trusted him, respected him, and allowed him to grow alongside her. I thought I was picking the easy prize, he said quietly. You were, Liora said, her eyes soft but resolute. But the easy prize is often the one that surprises you the most. Elias laughed, a sound that felt foreign to him after decades of war. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to hope, not for victory, not for survival, but for something beyond the endless cycles of battle. Something human. The new beginning the war was far from over. The Nythari still threatened human colonies, and the artifact, now under their control, was a beacon of hope and danger alike. But Elias no longer felt alone. He had Liora at his side, and for the first time, he understood that strength did not always lie in firepower or brute force. Together, they would continue to fight, to explore, and perhaps even to heal the fractured remnants of humanity. And Elias knew one unshakable truth. The woman he had once considered an easy prize was the greatest ally, the most extraordinary human he would ever know. He had survived countless battles, endured unimaginable loss, and faced horrors beyond comprehension. But nothing had prepared him for Liora. And perhaps, in the end, that was exactly the challenge he had been waiting for. Because sometimes, the greatest victories are not the ones won with weapons, but the ones won with understanding, trust, and partnership.